ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु बद्धेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, Conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva. Suta Uvacha एवं निशम्य भगवान् देवर्षेर्जन्म कर्म च भूया पप्रच्छ तद्ब्रह्मन् व्यास सत्यवती सुता. Suta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Vyasa uvacha भिक्षुभिर्विप्रवसिते विज्ञानादेस्त्रिभिस्तव वर्तमानो वयसि आद्ये ततः किम् अकरोत् भवान्. Sri Vyasadeva said, what did you, Narada, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth? स्वयंभुवा कया वृत्त्या वर्तितं ते परं व्यया कथं चेदम् उदश्राक्षि काले प्राप्ते कलेवरम्. O son of Brahman, how did you pass your life after initiation? How did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course? Prakalpa Vishayan etam स्मृतिं ते मुनिसत्तमा न हि एषा व्यवधात् काला एष सर्वनिराकृतिः. O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time? Narada Uvacha भिक्षुभिर्विप्रवसिते विज्ञानाद्रेस्तिभिर्मम वर्तमानो वयसि आद्ये तथा एतत् akarasham. Sri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for their other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. एकात्मजा मे जननी योषिन्मूढा च किङ्करी मयि आत्मजे अनन्यगतौ चक्रे स्नेहानुबन्धनम्. I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman but a maid servant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. शाश्वतन्त्र न कल्पासीद् योगक्षेमं ममेच्छति ईशस्य हि वशे लोको योषा दारुमयी यथा. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord, therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. अहं च तद् ब्रह्मलुकुले ऊषिवांस् तद् उपेक्षया दिग्देशाकलाव्यौपन्नो बालकः पञ्चहायनः. When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands. एकदा निर्गतां गेहाद् दुहन्तीं निशिगाम्पति सर्पो दशत् पदा स्पृष्टा कृपणां कालचोदितः. Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent, influenced by supreme time. Tada tad aham ishasya bhaktanam sam abhipshatah anugraham manyamanaha pratishtam disham uttaram. I took this as a special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees, and so thinking, I started for the north. स्वीतान् जनपदां तत्र पुराग्राम व्रजाकरान् एतकर्वत वातिश्च वनानि उपवनानि च. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, foreign flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. चित्रधातु विचित्राद्रीन् इभाभग्न भुजद्रुमान् जलाशयान् शिवजलान् नलिनी सुरसेवितां चित्रस्वने पत्ररथैर्विभ्रमद् भ्रमर श्रिया. I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. नलवेणु शरस्तंभ कुशकीचक गह्वरम एक एवातियातोऽहम् अद्राक्षं विपिनं महत् घोरं प्रतिभयाकारं व्यालो व्यालोलूक शिवाजिरम्. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful परिश्रान्तेन्द्रियात्माहं त्रित्परीतो बुभुक्षिता स्नात्वा पीत्वा हृदय नद्या उपस्पृष्टो गतः श्रमः. Thus traveling I felt tired both bodily and mentally, and I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in a river lake and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief from my exhaustion. तस्मिन् निर्मनुजय अरण्ये पिप्पलोपस्थ आश्रितः आत्मानमात्मस्थं यथा श्रुत अचिन्तयन्. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the super soul situated within, using my intelligence as I had learned from liberated souls. ध्यायतश्चरणाम्बोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठ्याश्रुकलाक्षस्य हृदि आसीन्मे शनैर्हरिः. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. प्रेमातिभर प्रेमातिभर निर्भिन्न पुलकांगोति निवृत्तः आनंद संलभो लीनो नापस्यम ubhayam mune. O Vyasadeva, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. रूपं भगवतो यत्तन् मनःकान्त शुचापहम् अपश्यन् सहसोत्तस्ते वैक्लव्याद् दुर्मना इव. The transcendental form of the Lord as it is satisfies the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got up, being perturbed, as is usual when one loses that which is desirable. Didruksho tad aham bhuya pranidaya mano hridi vikshmanopi napasyam avitripta ivaturaha. I desire to see again the transcendental form of the Lord, but despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him any more, and thus dissatisfied I was very much aggrieved. एवं व्यतन्त विजने माम् आह गोचरगिरां गम्भीरश्लक्षणया वाचा सुचा प्रशमयन् इव. Seeing my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. हन्तासिमिन् जन्मनि भवान् मां द्रष्टुम् इहार्हति अभिपक्वा कषायानां दुर्दर्शोऽहं कुयोगिनां. Oh, Narada, the Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me. सकृद्यद् दर्शितं रूपम् एतत् कामाय ते अनघा मत्कामा सनकै साधु सर्वान् मुञ्चति हृच्चयान्. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me, because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires. सत्सेवयाधिगायापि जाता मयि दृढमतिः हित्वाद्यम् इमं लोकं गन्तामज्जनताम् असि. By service of the Absolute Truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds. मतिर्मयि निबध्ययन् न विपद्येत कर्चि कर्हि चेत् प्रजासर्गनिरोधेऽपि स्मृतिश्च मद अनुग्रहात्. Intelligence engaged in my devotional service cannot be thought at any time, even at the time of creation as well as at the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continue by my mercy. एतावद् उक्त्वा उक्त्वोपराम तन्महद् भूतं नभो लिङ्ग अलिङ्ग ईश्वरम् अहं च तस्मै महतां महीयसे शीर्ष्णवानां विदधे अनुकम्पितः. Then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. नामान्यनन्तस्य हतत्र पतान् गुह्यानि भद्राणि कृतानि च स्मरन् गां पर्यतं तुष्टमनागतः स्पृहः कालं प्रतीक्षन् विमदो विमत्सरः. Thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I traveled all over the earth, fully satisfied, humble, and unenvious. एवं कृष्णमतेर्ब्रह्मन् नाशक्तस्यामलात्मनः कालप्रादुर्भूतकाले तर्डित सौदामनीयता. And so, O Brahmana Vyasadeva, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all material taints, met with death, as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. प्रयुज्यमाने मयि अथां शुद्धां भागवतीं तनुम् आरब्ध्वा कर्मनिर्वाणो न्यपतत् pancha. Having been awarded a transcendental body, befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit both I quit the body made of five material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work stopped. Dharma stopped. कल्पान्त इदम् आदाय शयने अम्भसि उदन्वतः शिशयीशोर अनुप्राणम विविशे अंतर अहम विभो. At the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing. सहस्रयुगपर्यन्ते उत्ताद्येयं शिश्रक्षतः मरीचि मिश्रा रशया प्राणेभ्योऽहं च जग्जिरे. After 300,000 solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again by the will of Lord, all the rishis like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and so on were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them. अंतर्बहिश्च लोकां स्त्रीन् पर्येमि अस् अस्कन्दितः व्रता अनुग्रहान् महाविष्णोर् अभिघाता गतिः क्वचेत्. Since then, by the grace of Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in the three divisions of material world. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord. Devadattam imam veenam स्वब्रह्म विभूतिशां विभूतिस् विभूषितं मूर्छयित्वा हरिकथां गायमानश्चराम्यहम्. And thus I travel constantly singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called a veena, which is charged with transcendental sound and which was given to me by Lord Krishna. प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवाः आहूत इव मे शीघ्रं दर्शनं याति चेतसि. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart as if called for as soon as I begin to chant his holy activities. एतद्धि आतुरचित्तानां मात्रा स्पर्शेच्छया मुहुः भव सिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्. It is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat, the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. यमादिभिर्योगपतैः कामलोभः हतो मुहुः मुकुन्दसेवया यद्वत् तथात्माद साम्यति. It is true that by practicing restraint of senses by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbances of desire and lust, but this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul, for this satisfaction is derived from devotional service to the personality of Godhead. सर्वं तदिदम् आख्यातुं यत्पृष्टोऽहं त्वया नगा जन्मकर्मरहस्यं मे भवतश्चात्मा तोषणम्. O Vyasadeva, you are freed from all sins. Thus I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization as you asked. All this will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also. सूत उवाच एवं सम्भाष्य भगवान् नारदो वासवीसुतम् आत्म आमन्त्रय वीणं रणयन् ययौ यादृचिको मुनिः. Suta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni took leave of him and vibrating on his veena instrument, he left to wander at his free will. अहो देवर्षिर्धन्योऽयं यत्कीर्तिं सार्गधन्वनः गायन् माध्यन् इदं तन्त्र्या रमयति Aturam Jagat. All glory and success to Srila Narada Muni because he glorifies the activities of the personality of Godhead, and so doing, he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe. Thus ends the chapter 6 entitled Conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva from first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Let's use um, yeah, little time because this is very nice chapter to understand, appreciate the power of bhakti. Uh, what is that? It brings us all auspiciousness. How? This is by Narad Muni is giving practical example how he has perfected his life. Yesterday we discussed about that in the past life, in the previous life of Narad Muni, he was son of a maid servant, and by the blessings of the Lord, there was this Brahmanas who are experts in Vedanta philosophy. They stayed during the 4 months of Chaturmas, and during that time, Narada, the boy who was 5 years old, he got the opportunity to serve these sadhus, and Uchishta, he could take the remnants of their um, yeah food, prasadam, and then because of that, when the time came, he got the opportunity to render devotional service. In this chapter, it goes further, hearing first of all, Vyasadeva is inquiring Narad Muni about his life. He is asking, hearing about Narad Muni's birth activities, Vyasadeva asked, what did you do after departure of this Bhaktivedantist who instructed you? How did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body? Huh? Time destroys everything, but how could you remember everything that happened in your past life? Hmm? So Narad Muni, he spoke first about that how caring was his mother, and for him there was nothing else. Yeah, the sage, he said, I was the only son of my mother who was very simple maid servant. Being her only shelter, she bound me with tie of affection. So, being a one and only son and caring mother, because of these two, Narad Muni, when he was a boy of 5 years old, he didn't get chance to think about anything after the Bhaktivedanta is left. But the Lord has arranged such a way that that when he was 5 years old, one night when his mother she went to milk cow in the night, then a serpent bit her and then she died. And this 5 year boy, Narad Muni, is saying that, this he sees as influenced by supreme time, Kala Choditaha, influenced by time. And then I took this as a special mercy of the Lord. Yeah, when a reversal happens, especially for a child who was just 5 years old and who had all care by his mother, and affection, attachment, everything. And at the 5 years old, when this incident happened, he sees that this is definitely special mercy of the Lord. So that is the quality of a devotee, a devotee who is very dear to the Lord. He sees that Lord's beneficiary directions are there in every step. So after that, Narad Muni, he traveled across different places. That's what is mentioned. And after he was tired, he took water and sat on a place under a banyan tree. Then he started meditating. He started meditating so intensely, and because he was blessed by the sages, uh, and whatever he heard from them, he started doing it. And then here, as as he was meditating upon the lotus feet of the Lord, tears rolled from his eyes, and due to longing, and gradually Lord Krishna appeared in his heart. Uh, this is the uh, potency of chanting the name of the Lord. Yeah, Dhyatas Charanambujam Bhava Nirjitam Chetasa. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport about bhava. It is this bhava through which one can attract the mercy of the Lord very easily. Rather, we are trying to find different options. Yeah, Sometimes they are working, sometimes they are not so penetrating, but it is definitely, it is said. The word bhava is significant here. This bhava stage is attained after one has transcendental affection for the Lord. This affection he got when he was instructed by the Vedantis. The first stage is called Shraddha, or a liking for the Supreme Lord. And in order to increase that liking, one has to associate with pure devotees of the Lord. The third stage is um, um, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. Uh, and then following the prescribed rules and regulations. Um, and then, and anyway, this is further it's explained. When all these misgivings and personal deficiencies are removed, anartha nivritti, there is a stage which is called standard faith. And in that standard faith, one grows further, the taste increases, and ruchi, then asakti, then bhava, then prema. This is how one advances. And in this regard, so Narad Muni is saying that he had so much bhava that his tears were rolling from his eyes when he was calling out, when he was meditating on the Lord. And because of that sincere attempt to attract the Lord was pleased, and then he appeared in his heart exceedingly overpowered by happiness. He was so much happy that he forgot he could not see himself or the Lord anymore because of that ecstasy. Absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, he could not see himself and also the Lord. Upon losing the form of the Lord, then what happened after this? The Lord disappeared. And this caused him, when the mind was satisfied and vanquishes all lamentation, I was disturbed. After all, the Lord appeared, then there was complete satisfaction. But why Lord disappeared? That caused him dissatisfaction. Despite my desire and attempts to concentrate and seeing that form, Prabhupada writes, yeah, I'm tempted to go into the purports, but there's so much, especially in the first canto, Prabhupada has given very, very elaborate purports touching every aspect how we can, which can help us to advance further. So I definitely encourage all of us to take time whenever possible. No, need not be in a rush, but take some time, go through the purports, and yeah, help ourselves to go more deeper, dive deeper. And in that it said, what we desire life after life was obtained by Narad Muni, and losing sight of him again was certainly a great shock for him. And this is disappointed him. I desire to see again the transcendental form. This is what he's saying. And but despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness, I could not see him anymore. Then the Lord instructed. There was a voice that spoke with gravity and pleasing words, and these words of the Lord came just to mitigate Narad Muni's grief. So he is saying, Gambhira, with a grave voice, the voice of gravity to mitigate my grief, he came and he said, "You will not see me again in this lifetime." Huh? Narada might ask, but show yourself once again to me. He said, no. He is saying, yeah. What is the qualification to have the darshan of the Lord? Is those who are incomplete in service. Huh? Kuyoginam. Yoginam means to attain perfection. Kuyogina means imperfection. Huh? Immature and not free from material taints cannot see me. Huh? So I showed myself to you once, yeah? But then Lord may say, why did you actually show me when you see that I'm not qualified, when not I'm completely few? Is so that to appreciate in you the seriousness or eagerness to purify yourself so that you can see me. I showed myself to you once just to increase your desire to see me, desire for me. The more one hankers for me, the more he will be freed from material desires. So in this way, because of that hankering to see the Lord is the spirit that can take us out from the inertia of our comfort zone, that we don't want or cannot render service. But when we see such a beautiful darshan of the Lord, that will inspire us, that inspires us to set this goal, that yes, I will give my best so that I can I can remember you, I will remember you. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, and this process helps us to purify. And when we purify, automatically uh, we become conducive to see the Lord and His hand, His mercy. The Lord glorifies devotional service. This is not, and in the verse 23, it is said, Sat sevaya dirgayapi jata mai dridamatihi. He is saying, by the service of absolute truth and the devotees, Sat sevaya, eva, even for a short time, uh, one becomes firmly fixed in me, and after giving up this deplorable world, one becomes my associate. And in this case, this is what Narad Muni, when this boy who succeeded with meditation, he attained darshan of the Lord. He said, I will no more give you darshan in this life, but if you become perfect, then you become an associate. Even the time factor cannot destroy one's devotional service. By my mercy, your memory will continue even at the time of creation and annihilation. Then that supreme authority, uh, he, after speaking, he stopped speaking further, and uh, Narad Muni, he bowed down in gratitude for such a nice instruction, what he should do, the direction that we usually want. Narad Muni uh, followed the Lord's instruction until death. What did he do? He repeatedly chanted, Namani Anantasya Hata Trapa Pathan. He was chanting repeatedly Anantasya again and again the Lord's name and fame, ignoring all formalities of the material world, and thus traveled and being satisfied, humble and non-envious. He was absorbed in chanting the name of the Lord. In due course of time, I, who was absorbed in Lord Krishna and thus detached and freed from all material taints, met with death. And after that, when he quit his body, at that time, because he was completely free from taint, impurities, or imperfection, he attained a spiritual body befitting an associate of the Lord. So after that, after 1,000 yuga cycle, when Brahma woke up, I also appeared along with the other rishis. And in that way, since then, by Lord's grace, I travel all over in the spiritual world and also in the three worlds, material worlds. And then, thus I travel constantly singing what? Uh, Pragayata Swa Viryani. Viryani means the glorification of the Lord. Singing Harikatha and playing this veena gifted to me by the Lord. As soon as I chant, the Lord, whose activities are pleasing to heart, Priya Shrava, at once appear in my heart as if called for. In that way, Narad Muni, he is able to have the darshan of the Lord through the chanting. That is the power of chanting. And further, Narada concludes his instructions and he says, so he is saying, Vyasadev, Hari Charyanu Varnanam. Hari Charya means activities. Hari Charya means the activities of the Lord, Varnanam. That will give you ultimate satisfaction. He says the most suitable boat to cross over. Matra, just what we don't want to do anything else. Etad di. Uh, um, yeah, एतत्ति आतुर चित्तानां मात्रा स्पर्शचेय मुहुः भव सिंधु प्लवो दृष्टा हरि चर्यानुवर्णनम. Just if one takes to the process of harikatha, hearing to the harikatha, speaking, reading, yeah, one absorbed in hearing to the activities of the Lord, then he can cross over the material ocean. For those who are full of anxieties, atura chittanam, one who is in that situation due to constantly desiring sense objects. Matra means this 16 elements, yeah, which are the material elements. So one who is absorbed in bodily consciousness, who is in anxiety, he can cross over such a difficult ocean just by taking to the hearing of Charya Anuvarnanam. So no one can stop thinking, feeling, willing, and working, right? All these activities are there, but if we use all these activities for the service of the Lord, then we can attain perfection. This is what Narad Muni said. As you have asked me, and for your satisfaction, I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization. Having thus spoken to Vyasadeva, Narada left on, and here Suta Goswami is concluding saying, all glories to Narad Muni, who glorifies the Lord while taking pleasure himself and enlivening all the distressed souls. So through this process of Harikatha, what is happening? Narad Muni himself is happy, and because one who hears from Narad Muni, yeah, is also happy. That's it. Yep. Thank you very much. So that is the power of Bhagavatam. Yeah, this is how when Vyasadeva was so much in despondence, he was not satisfied after writing all the Vedas and Itihasas and everything is there, Puranas, everything is there, but he was not happy. Why? Because he understood that in Kali Yuga, all these things becomes too complicated to be understood. So what is that easiest thing that can give ultimate satisfaction for oneself and perfection one can attain is Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is what Vyasadeva was instructed by his guru, by who none other than a great devotee Devarshi Narada, who is blessed. Yeah. Why? Because he has taken Uchishta. Yeah. What is that? The remnants of the Mahabhagavatas, whatever they eat and left remnants, food remnants, is what is so potent. Just by accepting them, one can relieve himself from the material conditioning. One can get the opportunity of taking to the process of devotion, and they can become associates of the Lord. Just hear how Narad Muni has become. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for joining. Hare Krishna. If there's something anyone want to have question, maybe you can ping me because we don't want to hold on. But if there are any questions, yeah, you can reach out to me maybe for a 10-15 minutes. Otherwise, also you can write me. We can catch up next day. So this Bhagavad recitation, if someone have joined for the first time, this is how we do. Every day we take a chapter, we read. First priority is to cover the translations, and then when we have little time we can discuss the summary of the whole chapter to understand what is the juice and gist of it according to Prabhupada's purpose. Hare Krishna. Have a nice evening. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। जय गौर प्रेमानंदी। Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.